Okay, good morning, everyone. This is Monica Olson from the State Board. Welcome to our very special Valentine's Day edition of the ctcLink Accessibility Open Forum. And thanks for being here. Before we get into the content we have prepared to share with you today, as always, I do have a few housekeeping things to let you all know. We do have a cart captioner with us here today, Natalie. So if you'd like to turn your live captioning on, you can do so using either you're going to see the 3-dot ellipses button or the CC button at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and you can turn on captions that way. And my name is Monica Olson, Policy Associate for Accessibility at the State Board. And I think, we're recording today's session as we always do. I am, to quote Taylor Swift, "Hi, it's me, I'm the problem. I am behind in getting our recorded sessions live on the State Board website, and I'm aware of that. So if you have gone to our accessibility webpage looking for a previous recording and haven't found it, I apologize. I'm working on getting us all caught up there. You can directly message me and email me, and I can send you a link to the Zoom recording for the time being. It's a time-sensitive need, but just wanted to acknowledge that with you all. And without further ado, Chris, I think that's it for me right now. I'll hand it over to you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Christopher Soren, Application Support Manager here at the State Board. And some more people waiting to get in. I'll let them in. So we'll get rolling with today's forum. All right. So today we're going to be talking about enter time page, an FA-PRP or Financial Aid People's Soft Release Patch Set, OAP, our online admission application portal, some service desk tickets we have open with Oracle. And then we didn't have any questions roll in, but we also have the terms and definitions still there at the end of the slides. And we'll continue to add things as our questions come up about new acronyms and whatnot. It's a very acronym heavy area. So the accessibility updates, as well as updates that benefit everyone, were made to the enter time page, where it displays the information about the supervisor and more information about the job. When this comes into play in particular, if you have multiple jobs with the same job title. For example, someone may have multiple adjunct faculty roles that all say adjunct faculty, and it's hard to differentiate without seeing what the associated supervisor is. Or if you're trying to enter time using a screen reader, certainly you're not gonna be able to tell the difference either. So that fix was deployed on January 24th. So if you're going to the enter time page, you'll see a change at the top of the page with that additional information. And then when you select a different job, the screen reader reads out that new job information to you as well. So those are the changes that were made. Those are on the last set of slide decks from last month. Showed that and talked about that. It's finally ready to go and out there for you to use. And then there's a financial aid, a PRP, or People's Soft Release Patch Set. We're planning to deploy that on the 16th. And so there are, in addition to the financial aid updates that it's bringing into the system, there's some accessibility updates to some ISER pages, which is Institutional Student Information Record, or ISER. So making corrections to students' FAFSA data. So those are staff only pages. So I'll show information on that here. So there is a IOVD, or image overview document, an accessibility image overview document that we create anytime new accessibility fixes are introduced into the system through the Oracle's updates. And so this will get published out with all of the other IOVDs. And so this shows on the, so this is in the financial aid, federal application data, and then correct the 2023-24 ICER pages there. So there was some, the before and after fields were incorrectly grouped on the page. And that got fixed. Also on the, on that financial aid, federal application data, correct 22-23 ICER page, the same fix was made there. So those are two different pages. So those fixes have to be manually done to each of those two different pages, as well as there was a missing control and changing tab order on the fields. That wasn't quite right, and that was on the set of SACR, product related financial aid, college financial planning, institution information tab. So there's some changes on that page as well. Not heavily used pages, but hey, we'll take accessibility fixes anywhere we can get them. And it's nice for the people that do use them.
And Chris, this accessibility IOVD document gets posted to the accessibility webpage. So if people wanted to read that more closely, they can go there to find it, correct?
That's correct. Mm-hmm.
Hi, this is Josh from SBCTC. Usually this gets posted right before we do the Q&A sessions for the image update. And usually that's around the same time as we have this meeting, so they're usually up by the time we have this meeting. This one is not up yet, but it should be up soon, probably by the end of this week.
This is Monica. Thank you, Josh.
Thanks, Josh. Any questions on these updates?
This is Monica. I have one comment to share around update number 1, the enter time page accessibility fix with, for folks who are selecting one of 2 or more jobs with the same job title. I was in a conversation where some folks asked, well, why can't the job titles themselves just be changed or edited to be, unique from each other? And I thought that's not a bad question. And there's a very valid reason why that can't happen that I wanted to make sure this group was aware of, which leads to why the fix that got deployed is on that page showing more information about the particular job selection, like the unique supervisor's name, rather than changing the job title itself. Because job titles, many of our job titles, most of them in our CTC systems, have many of them have specific classifications, and OFM plays a big part in how job titles are classified and what they're called. So actually changing a job title in our system for many different types of positions is not an easy thing to do, and actually has to go through a big rigmarole process that includes outside entities, not just the college and the state board. So so that was good for me to learn and be educated on, and I just wanted to state it for the record because I think it's a logical and fair question of why don't we make the job titles themselves more unique so people can know which one they want to select. There's very valid reasons for that. So that's why Padma worked to get additional information on that page available for people to read and perceive, depending on which selection they're making. So thanks, Chris. Just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, that's a great comment. I had the exact same question first time I went to the page and saw the problem. And then when I learned that made more sense.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Monica.
Okay, thanks, Chris. This is Monica. So this is my slide. Updates continued. I have 2 main updates to share with you today. And unfortunately, my colleague Vicki is out sick today, so they're not with us to add to the conversation. Over the last few open forums, we have made mention that Okta has made some major redesign and changes to their sign-in widget or login widget. And Okta is the MFA or multi-factor authentication tool that we're using. And Vicki and I were invited by test managers and product managers at Okta to help perform accessibility conformance evaluation and testing of their new design for their sign-in widget. And that's been completed for some time now. We've been in conversation with them back and forth. I don't have exact dates for when the new sign-in design is going to be deployed, but I know that they're planning to do an early adoption or EA, hopefully sometime in the next month. So I'm sure as I learn more about that timeline, we'll include those updates here in the open forum, as well as, other listservs where that information gets posted. In one of our most recent conversations, with Okta, we discovered an issue that wasn't part of what we were originally testing for them a month or so ago, but we found it through working directly with a student who's also an employee at the college, who's a full-time screen reader user, who was having some issues after successfully signing in through Okta and then landing on Okta's dashboard page. There was some rough navigation issues for that student, depending if we were in what's called list view or grid view on that page. And so Vicki and I discovered that through working with this individual, and we've contacted Okta to have a conversation with them about that and document it with the product manager. So that's what I have to share with you today about Okta, our MFA tool. Any questions or comments before I move on? Okay. And then the other update I have is I'm leading a 10-week intensive web accessibility learning lab or WA lab training program. It launched last Thursday on February 9th and goes through April. We have some amazing teams participating this year. We had 12 applications and 7 teams are participating in this year's cohort. So we have some folks from Bellingham Technical College. We have folks from Lake Washington Institute of Technology, Olympic College, Peninsula College, Breton Technical, SBSCC, and then we also have a team from the state board from SBCTC that is led by Meredith Hatch, our new web administrator. So it's going to be a great learning opportunity and capacity building opportunity across our system. And I'll share more as I can. That's it for me.
Thanks, Monica. So the OAAP, or Online Mission Applications Portal. So Josh has been doing great work working with Castech, the vendor that makes the OAAP product. And so he's been working through about 100 accessibility fixes with them. This has been quite a list to work through. So some of the things that we've been working through and getting fixed, inappropriate heading structure, unnecessarily alt text on decorative images, identical labels for buttons, missing list markups, insufficient color contrast, missing instructions for mandatory fields, illogical tab borders, as well as many other items. And so, but Castech has been quite responsive and working through and fixing all these things, and we're targeting a March 11th deployment for those fixes.
And hi, this is Josh again from SBCTC. And I actually got a message from Castech this morning. They're pushed over a bunch more things that were in development into sit. So I'll be testing a few more changes to add to the list and hopefully make the March 11th deployment date for this.
So is there any questions around all this? Yes, what is sit? Yes, it's testing after it's developed, before it gets launched into production. The system integration testing is what the SIT stands for. Testing out the fixes, seeing if it does what it should.
And also making sure that it doesn't break anything else. We did have a couple issues with that where we had a lot of fixes brought into the system, but it changed some functionality that we were expecting it not to change, and they had to go back and fix that. And so yeah, some like regression testing as well, making sure that nothing is broken that we expect to be working or not have been touched.
Yeah, and regression testing, that's where we're going through and testing things in the system that just to make sure everything else is still working. Like Josh mentioned, yeah, we're bringing a fix. It sometimes has unintended consequences. So testing other areas to make sure everything's still working. And right now, the application support team and the state board, we're working through the people tools 8.59.21. Getting that implemented in the system. We're still early on in that process, but there's some accessibility fixes that'll be coming in with that people tools upgrade, and we'll be getting an image overview document posted with all those accessibility changes closer to the deployment date.
Chris, this is Monica. Forgive me if you mentioned this before and I just don't have it in my memory. What's the projected timeline for this people tools update? Do you know yet?
Estimated launch date is late April.
April.
Right.
Okay. So a couple months from now.
Yeah.
And this slide is communicating to us that you're kind of like deep in the weeds reviewing what those accessibility fixes are that are coming out with people tools as Oracle has documented them with us. Is that correct?
Yeah, and we've also reached out to Oracle on some that don't have enough information for us to tell what was changed.
Yeah.
Because we'll have a whole list of like all these bug fixes that they did, and then maybe it'll just be like the title of the fix that they did, which is too vague for us to tell what was changed. So sometimes, we'll send off an email with a list of all the things that we don't have enough information on to tell what was changed to Oracle, so we can get more information from them on those items.
Yeah, that makes sense. And for our audience, if you're not quite following what we just said, sometimes Oracle will provide a list of their accessibility fixes that are coming out with the update or release, and if they don't provide enough information, it's hard for our in-house folks to actually pinpoint what changed on that page or where to go to test or review the code. And I'm sure I'm simplifying and watering it down a bit, and Chris and Josh might use different words to explain this, but that's unfortunate because it means that sometimes Chris's team has to go back and ask Oracle, can you please provide more information, be more specific about what this fix is and doing and what it's changed on the page so that we can actually look at it, under the hood, so to speak. And that has been an issue too with HCX accessibility updates, where we've needed some more, clarification on what actually changed or was done. So just something for you all to be aware of as part of the reality of, working with third-party companies and external partners. I hope I gave that a fair explanation, Chris.
Yes. Yeah, we sometimes Oracle will provide the navigation and the replication steps, or sometimes we'll get just a 65 character limit description where we don't even know what page the change was made on. And we have to figure out what was changed. So there's only so much investigating we can do with 65 characters. Yeah, we reach out and get more information from them.
Hey, this is Josh again. And sometimes they will add they'll say that they use their internal tool and they got an error. And that doesn't really help us at all if we don't have access to their internal tool to show what kind of error it would produce. So yeah, we have to get more clarification on items like that as well.
And there's somebody had a question in the chat. So Megan was wondering when the update was rolling out. Yeah, so we're currently on People Tools 85721. We're skipping over People Tools 858 and going directly to People Tools 85921.
When?
So late April is our plan.
Okay, thank you.
And Megan, I'm not sure if you were on the call, but we just spent the last several minutes talking about the process that Chris and his team is in right now, reviewing the list of accessibility updates and fixes that were documented by Oracle for this People Tools release, and that sometimes we don't have enough information to actually understand what they changed on the page, so it's this back and forth dance.
Yeah, because we want to be able to communicate all the changes to everyone and make sure that the changes they made work, and do we need to open a new ticket because it's not working like we expected to, and all that good stuff. So yeah, I just wanted to, this is more of a update of current work that we're going through. Yeah. And we go through that with every update that we do, whether, like the next campus solutions image that we might work on, or the next human capital management, we go to from HCM 44 to HCM 45, all the list of bug fixes, whether it's accessibility or not. Sometimes we need to get more information to be able to communicate out all the changes. Yeah. Oh, go ahead, Megan.
Yeah, I didn't know if there's any direct communication between the state board and Oracle, or could there be, would be my advocacy about when they're going to get themselves together, and like, do they have a goal or a roadmap to be fully accessible? Because we've been live with ctcLink for how many years, right? And I know that there's pieces here and there, but like, do they have any holistic goals? Could we ask for that? Could we advocate for that? Because, it's taxing on you all, the state board, it's taxing on the end user students. So I just didn't know, or just something to think about if you need help with that. Yeah.
Yeah, so as far as the direct communication we have with them, so we have a standing meeting with Josh and myself and our team to talk through all of the open, what all the statuses are with everything we got open, all the tickets we have open with them, to give us more direct updates on those things, the problems that we report in or we figure out ourselves and report to Oracle. And then Oracle also has an HCM forum where they bring in, they invite any of their customers to come in that are working in the accessibility side of stuff, so they can have a little more know-how and answer questions. And sometimes they even ask, here's 2 compliant ways to fix this thing. What do you think is the best? So that's the sort of stuff that and they'll show us. So yeah, all the fixes are coming sort of roadmap-ish.
Kind of piece by piece.
Yeah, so here's the stuff that's going to be coming in, this coming in People Tools 858. Here's stuff that's coming in People Tools 859. Here's stuff that's coming in People Tools 860. And so they
Yeah, and I guess maybe I'm not stating clearly, and so others can clarify or ask questions, but I'm reading Monica's, my question is, does Oracle claim to be fully compliant to a certain WCAG level, or like, are they aiming to be, like, do they have a roadmap of like, we're going to be 2.0 by this time, we're going to be 2.1 by this time? And they might whine that it's difficult to achieve this, but regardless, it puts us in a compliance risk. So, I mean, I'm wondering, I'm asking if we're having the direct conversation with Oracle instead of being like, yay, you're fixing some pieces, you're fixing some pages, you're fixing some things. Can the state board entertain, because you all are a liaison to them, like I don't have a direct contact to Oracle, but I'm at a college that's really concerned about it, and OCR is concerned about it and talking to my college, right? So I'm trying to figure out, do you all need help from me? Can I bring up this idea, this advocacy? The state board ask for something big. They ask Oracle to work on being fully accessible. And I know that like it's not on any one of us to make that happen, but collectively as a group, maybe we can. Like, we're 34 community colleges. We've paid them, we have their product. So I'm just asking if you all as my partners at the state board could start to have conversations with each other, with state board leadership. I'm like, can we ask for something bigger? Because years are going by and we're having pieces of the system fixed and roll-ups and small things, but have we asked for something big? A fully accessible goal, a fully accessible system, I guess. And again, I don't have the direct connection with Oracle, so I'm not hearing the excuses and the technology restrictions, but I'm just like, dreaming that the system can work for everybody. Rant over. Monica.
Thanks, Megan. This is Monica. Chris, I have a few thoughts to explore, unless you have something that you want to say right now.
Go ahead.
Okay, let me put my hand down because I actually find that very distracting to look at. Okay. Thank you, Megan, for your comments. And I want to start off by acknowledging the frustration that everyone in this relationship, folks at the state board, working directly with Oracle, including Chris and Josh attending those meetings, feel, and the extra frustration that our colleges, especially Clark and their students are feeling right now. I also want to acknowledge the hard work that folks are doing to advocate for this and push Oracle in those meetings, and doing everything we can to submit SR tickets and document the problems in the way that they also require us to even engage in those conversations, which is another point of frustration that I know Chris has mentioned here before. When you're thinking about, like, is there something more we can do or something meatier or bigger? I want to, for myself personally, I would like to take some time to consider my response to you more fully. However, I do have some ideas around, moving forward. Perhaps Chris and I can think strategically how to engage other leadership at the state board, if that's an appropriate move. But that's a conversation I want to have with Chris too, who right now is in many ways holding and navigating our relationship with Oracle people, with the Oracle folks right now. And then I'm also aware, and I've had a little back and forth with Chris about this, and at the time I was unable to pursue this more, but there's Chris, you might have to help me say what the acronym stands for. HUG, HEUG.
Higher Education User Group.
Which is a collective of, a group of Oracle users, right, Chris? And it's nationwide.
Specifically higher education.
And higher education users nationwide of Oracle, correct? That's what this group is.
Yes.
Okay. So at this point in time, I know that when occasionally when they have a conference yearly, I have not been, they have had some accessibility sessions and accessibility track, but at this point in time, I'm not aware if they actually have like an accessibility focus group or advocacy group within the HUG. I think we call it HUG, that's how we say the acronym, group. And that might be a powerful place for some pushing to happen on Oracle, is voices even beyond our 34 community and technical colleges through that group. Again, I'll say I right now don't have a direct tie into that group, and I haven't been able to pursue my curiosity around that group yet. But I did, I guess I'm saying it here now as a potential avenue.
Yeah.
Oh, go
I
ahead.
just thank you all for the conversation. I'm feeling like I can be honest, and it's just like, I gotta ask this probably every year. I gotta be real with you all about the, just wondering how we can join together. I'm also frustrated for you all just to having to fix the system in pieces. But yeah, anyway, so let us know, as Sean is saying in the chat, let us know if there's something the colleges can do, if you want us to get a document together, student employee stories for higher ups at the state board to know kind of the impacts. Yeah, so just keep us, let us know if there's something that we can help out with on these efforts, or if there's something else another place that we should be advocating to as colleges.
Yeah, one thing that would help me is continuing to submit tickets to us on things that you find, and not just like, I found these 5 things. It'd be helpful if you had 5 things to have 5 tickets, and then we could tackle them all and be like, let's fix this one, let's fix this one. Just continuing to keep pressure on them to fix this. I know it seems piecemeal, and unfortunately there's no magic wand. We just need to keep pressuring them to fix every problem we find in the system, and keep them going, and for that goal. So yeah, so I know it's frustrating with the ticketing, but like we're open service across the Oracle with things that we find, but we don't use every page in the system in the same way that everyone else uses it too. Maybe this page works great with JAWS, but doesn't work well with Dragon or Zoom Text or something like that. So even in different assistive technologies and the way they interact with the pages, and just saying I use this technology on this page and it didn't work in this way, and then we can force them to fix it. It feels like a huge hill to climb, and I know it's frustrating to keep submitting those tickets, and but that's if we just keep plugging at it and keep forcing them on every little thing that we find, we're gonna see bigger and bigger changes coming in.
And it's not just, and this is Josh again, it's not just pushing Oracle. We have to know what the issues are to be able to address them holistically. Like we were told, last issue that were given to us by Clark was the report time and intertime pages not being accessible. We went to Oracle with as much as we could get from them to fix that, and then whatever we had to customize ourselves, we did that as well. And that's the last thing I remember being reported from Clark. So if there's anything that's outstanding that we haven't started working on.
I mean, our students can't register, but we don't know we can't ticket their ID numbers. I haven't, as a DSS director, I haven't been ticketing. I'm also not trying to get more OCR complaints. So I'm just like, I just don't know. Maybe Monica can advise me. How do I ticket for student stories? Many of our students aren't using ctcLink. They're going through people like us to do the things for them, or registration. So we're just circumventing it in some aspects. because we don't want that microaggression, that frustration. But yeah, we're not ticketing a ton at Clark, but there are individuals who are. I'm not the only one at Clark that knows how to put in a ticket, but we're not a lot for students.
Yeah, I'd love to get more details on what's stopping those students with registering and how we can fix that. Yeah, they should be able to, certainly. Yeah, what's this technology tools are they using? How are they getting in? Are they using HighPoint? Are they using
They used to use HighPoint, but with the update, they've run into accessibility bugs. But yeah, maybe we can have a conversation another time.
Certainly, we have it. Registration's pretty basic functionality in the system. Everybody better be able to do it. Yeah. Certainly that sounds, yeah, absolutely. I want to acknowledge frustration and I want to help make it better. I just want to.
Chris, this is Monica. I was listening to Megan around some of the limitations around like ticketing what's happening for students, because there is that confidentiality piece of like not wanting to send in I guess, student ID or name. So how do we document what's going on? One thought I'm having is, whatever, as much of information describing the experience the students having, maybe Vicky can partner with you guys with with some sort of test student account to kind of replicate the steps that an actual student is telling, Megan or Megan's colleague they can't do independently with their assistive technology, and we could document it that way.
This is Christopher. Yeah, we don't always necessarily need a student ID number. I mean, if it's specific to their account or something like that, that's helpful. But if there's if you're on a certain page and you're navigating and the tab index is out of order, well, it's not specific to that student. We need to get that fixed, and or the search results aren't reading out for a screener or some in the way that you would expect, or I don't know what specific things they're facing, but certainly we'd want to get whatever it is fixed. So yeah, if you just tell us like the steps you took, what page you're on, what's happening in the process, and we could because Oracle is going to ask us to replicate it and provide some sort of trace file, and they want us to run through all the steps, and so we just got to be able to just to force them to fix it, just repeat the steps. Knowing what steps those students are taking, so we can repeat it. That's helpful. That's something we can put in a ticket. Yeah. So is there any other questions or thoughts, things came to mind? What? So one thing that everybody's likely doing right now, getting their W-2s, working on your taxes. This one, man, this took me a while to get Oracle to convince them it was a problem that needed to be fixed. I was on them for like a year where I finally got them to agree, which was lovely that they finally did. So they had, it's been a long story, but the story as it is now is at the downloadable PDF version of the W-2s isn't tagged correctly, and they keep making progress on it. Like the last update had them, it was working right, I think, with, I can't remember which, it was working right with some screeners, but it wasn't working right with voiceover. And so they wanted to make sure that when they brought out that it was fixed and working for everybody, for everything. So They're hoping to have for next year's taxes the downloadable version of the PDF to be appropriately tagged and usable for screen readers. The HTML version, so if you just navigate to that page where you can pull up all that information, that's still accessible, and you can still get to all that information using assistive technologies. But they're still working on it, and they're still making progress. They're giving me updates, and of course it's not going as fast as I'd like, but they're still going on it. So I'll give you updates as I learn more. But I'm assuming everybody right now has that question in mind as you're working through your taxes. So.
Chris, this is Monica. I just put in chat a little summary of what you were saying there. So just read the message.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The day they fix that, I feel like I want to party. I feel like so many meetings and questions on that one. So yeah. And so yeah, please continue to submit your questions and we'll get them addressed, give them the slides. Reminder, we have the accessibility webpage where you'll see that financial aid, people's offer lease patch set updates, as well as other new accessibility fixes that are coming in and all the new updates. And our next forum, a month from now on March 14th. Please come again.
All righty. I think that brings us to the end of this forum. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Josh, for your hard work and for being here and facilitating this conversation with me. And thank you, everyone across our system, for attending these monthly open forums. We appreciate the conversation and your participation. And Megan, thank you for your difficult questions and for your advocacy. Appreciate you. And as Chris mentioned, our next open forum is March 14th, same time, same place. And this will be my last call for comments or questions before I end the recording and say goodbye. So is there anything else anyone would like to share? Okie dokie. Well, thanks again for being here. I'm going to stop our recording.